Hello there. I haven't done one of these lives in 2 weeks now. I think I've been pretty busy with work and it was quite stressful, but I should be back now to doing them once or twice a week. Uh, if you join, thanks for joining. I hope you're gonna enjoy it and study along with me. I'm going to wait for 2 to 3 minutes to give a chance for people that were waiting to join and anybody else that would like to join, and then we're going to get started to study from the Freecodecamp course from where we left off last time. In case you're just joining this for the first time, I'm going to show I have actually a playlist on my YouTube channel where I host all the lives that I did on this Freecodecamp course from the beginning to where we are now. So if you go on my YouTube channel, and you can see past live streams, and if we go in playlists and we go to live events, you can see I have all the past lives in the playlist, right? You can see from where I started, and you can watch all of them from the beginning of the course if you're just joining somewhere in the middle. Alright, so the name of the playlist is live events on my YouTube channel. Alright, so it seems like it's happening like the last time when I did a live, where it was showing that people are waiting, but then when I was on the live, nobody was actually showing on my software. I'm not sure if it's the fault of the software or what's going on, but I will get started from where we left off last time, and I will study on my own if you guys don't want to join. Alright, so last time what we did, we were at these sections and I had to write a solution for their problem. We're going to go to the next section in the course. We are in the ES6 module at the moment. So let's see what I have for us this time. ES6 Create a module script. JavaScript started with a small role to play on an otherwise mostly HTML web. Today it's huge and some websites are built almost entirely with JavaScript. In order to make JavaScript more modular, clean and maintainable, ES6 introduced a way to easily share code amongst JavaScript files. This involves exporting parts of the file for use in one or more files and importing the parts you need where you need them. In order to take advantage of this functionality, you need to create a script in your HTML with a type of module. Here's an example. Script, and you put the type as module, and then you put the path to the script, the other script that you have. A script that uses this module type can now use import and export features you will learn about in the upcoming challenges. Add the script to the HTML document of type module and give it the source file of index.js. Alright, so let's go to the code, and we need to add a script of type equals module source is index.js. Okay, and we close this and we close the script like this. Let's run it, and they tell us that we are a shooting star. Okay, use export to share a code block. Imagine a file called mathfunctions.gs that contains several functions related to mathematical operation. One of them is stored in a variable add that takes in two numbers and returns their sum. You want to use this function in several different JavaScript files. In order to share it with these other files, you first need to export it. So this is the way you usually declare function, and if you want to be able to export it from this file and import it in another file, you need to use the word export before the declaration. The above is a common way to export a single function, but you can achieve the same thing like this. So you can just declare it as normally, and then you are exporting and you're just putting the name of the function here. When you export a variable or function, you can import it in another file and use it without having to rewrite the code. Meaning you don't have to rewrite the code of the function. You can just use one of the files that you can export in that file just by importing it. So you're exporting them. You can export multiple things by repeating the first example for each thing you want to export, or by placing them all in the export statement of the second example like this. So you just have a lot of functions in one file, and then you say export and you make like an object like structure, and you put all the names of the functions. There are two strings related functions in the editor. Export both of them using the method of your choice. So here there are two functions in this file. We can either export them by putting the export like this. That's one way, right? So if we say run, it says pull out all the stuff, but we can also go back and we can do it the other way as well. If we want to check that we remember properly, instead of putting export for each, you just say export at the end. You make this object like structure and you put the names uppercase string and lowercase string. All right. Okay. Not at this moment. And I see that somebody is watching at the moment. Welcome to the live. I hope you are going to get some value of it and just study along with me, I guess. Do make sure to ask any questions if you have any, or introduce yourself in the chat. Okay, reuse JavaScript code using import. So you saw how we were exporting in the other files. Now we will have to import those functions that we want to use in another file. So import allows you to choose which parts of a file or module to load. In the previous lesson, the examples exported add from the mathfunctions.js. Here's how you can import it to use in another file. So the way you are saying export and you are exporting add, in the other file you just say import, like I want this add from this file, right? So here import will find add in mathfunction.js, import just that function for you to use and ignore the rest of the functions from that file. This tells the import to look for the mathfunction.js in the same folder as the current file. The relative file path, this one, and file extension.js are required when using import in this way. You can import more than one item from the file by adding them in the import statement like this. So the way you are able to export more, you can also import more, but you're just importing the ones you need. Add the appropriate import statement that will allow the current file to use the uppercase string and lowercase string functions you exported in the previous lesson. These functions are in a file called stringfunctions.js, which is the same directory as the current file. So we need to import uppercase string, and I think I have a mistake here because it was supposed to be like this, but they just put it like this. Lowercase string, and we want to import it from we want it's in the same folder, so we go like this and we put string functions.js. All right, okay, just gonna drink a bit of coffee. Okay, use the star to import everything from a file. Suppose you have a file and you wish to import all of its content into the current file. This can be done with the import star as syntax. Here's an example where the contents of a file named math functions are imported into a file in the same directory. So you just say import everything as my math module, and you're saying as because that's how you want to refer to of that file in this file. So if you have two functions like add and math in this file and you want to import all those functions as my math module, you say import everything as my math module, and then when you want to use add, you just say my math module dot add, right? As you can see here, the above import statement will create an object called my math module. This is just a variable name. You can name it anything, so you can just name anything. You can give it any name you want here. The object will contain all of the exports from math functions .js in it, so you can access the functions like you would any other object properties. So using dot, right? Here's how you can use add and subtract functions that were imported. My math module add of 2 and 3 and my math module subtract 5 and 3. The code in this file requires the contents, and they're talking about this one. Let me just go on the, because we're not using Visual Studio at the moment, saying the code in this file requires the content of the file strings function.js that is in the same directory as the current file. Use import star as syntax to import everything from the file into an object called string functions. So we're just going to say import everything as string functions from, and we want to import from here. Okay, and we go like this and like this and like this, and then we can use it here as string functions uppercase string and string functions lowercase string. Okay, okay. Create an export fallback with export default. In the export lesson, you learn about the syntax referred to as name export. This allowed you to take multiple functions and variables available for use in other files. There is another export syntax you need to know, known as export default. Usually you will use this syntax if only one value is being exported from a file. It is also used to create a fallback value for a file or module. Below are examples using export default. So you can have either export default function and you can give it a name, or you can also not give it a name. You just give it a name when you import it, right? This is like the default. When you're importing something from this file, this is the function that is going to be exported. That's why it's called default, because it's exported by default. All right. Since export default is used to declare a fallback value for a module or file, you can only have one value to be a default export in each module or file. So you can have a fallback or a default value. You can have more of them. You can just have one of them in each file. Additionally, you cannot use export default with var, let, or const. So you can't use the default with the const like function, right? Where you use const something, and so I think they're saying that you cannot use export default with how you call them, function with arrow functions. They say you can do that. I didn't know that you can do that, but I guess you just have to make functions like that if you want to be the default export. The following function should be the fallback value for the module. Please add the necessary code to do so. So you just want to say export default. You can either do this, export default, and say subtract, or you can put the export default here, but this should work as well. Okay, this should work, so I'm not sure why it doesn't, but we can just do the way they want. Just say this, export default function subtract. Okay. Alright, import the default export. In the last challenge you learned about export default and its uses. To import a default export, you need to use a different import syntax. In the following example, add is the default export of math functions JS. Here's how to import it. So when it's a default one, then you can just give it, you can actually give it, I think, whatever name you want. It doesn't have to be the name of the function. I'm not sure if it has to be the name of the function, but I don't think so. I think you can give it whatever name you want here, because you're exporting from here and there is a default one, so it's just gonna take that function and put it in whatever name you give it here. The syntax differs in one key place. The imported value add is not surrounded by curly braces. Add here is simply a variable name for whatever the default export of the math function math functions JS file is. So they say exactly what I say. You can use any name here when importing a default, so it doesn't have to be the same one that it was called when it was exported. You can give it a name that's more descriptive for the use you have for that function in your file. In the following code, import the default export from math function JS file found in the same directory as this file. Give the import the name subtract. So you just want to say import subtract from math functions JS. All right, run the test. You should properly import subtract. Subtract. I have a spelling mistake here. Okay. By the way, if you are watching and you're enjoying this, I would appreciate a like, as YouTube might show this content to more people. Okay, let's go forward. Create a JavaScript promise. A promise in JavaScript is exactly what it sounds like. We're getting into async JavaScript now, and async JavaScript is always a problem for a lot of people learning JavaScript, but promises make it much nicer. A promise in JavaScript is exactly what it sounds like. You use it to make a promise to do something, usually asynchronously. When the task completes, you either fulfill your promise or fail to do so. Promise is a constructor function, so you need to use the new keywords to create one. It takes a function as its arguments with two parameters, resolve and reject. Obviously, resolve and reject is the names that you give them, but you could give them any names. It doesn't have to be a resolve or reject. You can, but this is the names that are usually used. These are methods used to determine the outcome of the promise. The syntax looks like this: const my promise equals new promise, and it takes this callback function with two parameters, resolve and reject. So it says create a new promise called make server request, pass in function with resolve and reject. So we're saying const make server request equals new promise, which takes a function with resolve and reject. Alright. You should assign a promise to the name make server request. What did I do wrong? Create a new promise. New promise, resolve, reject. What did I do wrong? Let's put it like this. What am I doing wrong here? I don't get it. It's exactly like const make server request equals new promise, which takes resolve and reject. As parameters. Okay, let's see what I'm failing here. I'm gonna move this here. You should assign a promise. This is what I'm doing. New promise. What is going on? Okay, I got no idea what's going on. Resolve, reject. I'm gonna watch the chat to see if anybody is saying something, because I have no idea what's going on here. Why is it failing? New promise. Resolve, resolve, reject. So I have no idea why this is not working. Make oh my god, I can't believe I was missing this. It's like server, not sever. Oh my god, this is so painful. You see, this is what happens when you're programming. Sometimes you just can't see a letter missing. Alright, so let's go forward. Complete a promise with resolve and reject. A promise has three states: pending, fulfill, and rejected. The promise you created in the last challenge is forever stuck in the pending state because you did not add a way to complete the promise. The resolve and reject parameters given to the promise argument are used to do this. Resolve is used when you want your promise to succeed, and reject is used when you want it to fail. These are methods that take an argument as seen below. So you're saying if condition here, so if this condition is true, then we want to resolve the promise, else we want to reject the promise, right? The example above uses string for the argument of this function, but it can really be anything. Often it might be an object that you would use data from to put on your website or elsewhere. So you basically resolve the function with an object, which is basically the data object that comes from that promise at when the promise is fulfilled, or some object that you get when it's rejected. Make the promise handle success and failure. If response from server is true, call the resolve method. So we want to say if response from server, we want to call resolve with the value we got the data, else we want to reject with the data not received. All right. Okay. Handle a fulfilled promise with then. Promises are most useful when you have a process that takes an unknown amount of time in your code, something asynchronous, often a server request. When you make a server request, it takes some amount of time, and after it completes, you usually want to do something with the response from the server. This can be achieved by using the then method. The then method is executed immediately after your promise is fulfilled with resolve. Here's an example. My promise, then result, do something with the result. Result comes from the argument given to the resolve method. Add the then method to your promise. Use result as the parameter of its callback function and log the result in the console. If response from server, resolve, we got the data. What is saying? So we want to say, okay, so we want to say make server request. So we're calling the promise, and then we say then, and in the callback we get the data which is given to us if the function is, if the promise is fulfilled, which would be this data, and we console log the data. Okay, and the tests should have a call with the function. Yeah, so they just want us to put the result in here, but it doesn't matter what name you give it here. All right, and with this we are close to the end of the ES6 section on this course. I will explain a little bit more on this one so you understand what's going on with promises. So let's say you create a promise which is const get data from server equals new promise, new promise, which takes a resolve and reject, right? And in here obviously you would have some calls to the server, but we'll just say we'll just say something like const response from server. We will not do the calls to the server, we will just say const response from server equal and it would be a data with, we will say name Marian, right? And then we want to say Marian, and let's say age 32, right? So this would be a user object, would be an user object that maybe we get from our API, right? So we want to say if we have a response from server, which we got, we say if response from server, then we want to say resolve, and we pass the response from server, else, and we want to say reject, and here we pass an object where we say message API call failed, maybe something like that, right? So then if we call the get data from servers because we want to get the data from server, then we're saying then, and we're saying data, the data there we get, and we want to say console log, and from this data we know the data is going to be an user object, and we want to console log data name, right? And this can also have, promises also have a catch, which is what happens when the promise is rejected. Catch error, which would be this reject and we want to say console log error message, right? So let's see what's going on now. Now we know that the response from server exists, so this should be the promise should be fulfilled, right? So if I say how you say node, and we're going to run this file, node free code. Why is this not oh, I am not in the right file. Cd, I want to go in dev, and then we want to go in Freecodecamp. Okay, and not Freecodecamp, right? And we get Marian. It's basically the promise is fulfilled, and then from the data that it gets, it's consoling long data name, which is Marian, right? Now let's see if we say this, if we change this to undefined, which means the response from server was, we don't have a response from server, then it should go into the catch, which is the reject part of the promise, right? So we should get API called failed, right? So I hope you understand now how promises work. Let's see. Handle a rejected promise with catch. This is exactly the same thing that I was explaining. Catch is the method used when your promise has been rejected. It is executed immediately after a promise reject method is called. Here's the syntax. My promise catch. Obviously, usually you have my promise then and then catch, right? Error is the argument passed into the reject method. Obviously, you can name this whatever you want. Add the catch method to your promise, use error as the parameter of its callback function, and log error to the console. Okay, so we're just saying then result, and then we're saying catch error console log error. All right, and that's it. And I think this is done with ES6 module of this course. Nicely done. Okay. So the next module is about regular expressions, and regular expressions are intimidating to a lot of programmers because they're quite weird. They're intimidating to me as well, but I like them because you can do a lot of nice things with them. So let's start going through this module. Go to the first lesson. Regular expressions are used in programming languages to match parts of string. You create patterns to help you do that matching. If you want to find the word the in the string the dog chased the cat, you could use the following regular expression. And usually in JavaScript, you write the regular expressions between this, how you call them, no idea. Uh, um, Notice the quote marks are not required within the regular expression, so you don't need to have quote marks. JavaScript has multiple ways to use regexes. One way to test a regex is using the test method. The test method takes the regex, applies it to a string, which is placed inside a parenthesis, like here, and returns true or false if your patterns find something in the string or not. So let's say we have a test string Freecodecamp. Then we have a test regex, which is code, and then we test the regex to see if we find it in this string, and it finds it, so it returns true. So here they say apply the regex, my regex, on the string my string using the test methods. So you have my regex test, test, and you pass the string to test, and that's it, right? Should return to okay, but we need to change this also to return true. Oh, so we need to put this here actually. All right. Okay. In the last challenge, you search for the word hello using the regular expression hello. That regex search for a literal match of the string hello. Here's another example searching for a literal match of the string Kevin. So you have this, and then you have this, and then you test again. Any other format of Kevin will not match. For example, the regex Kevin will not match Kevin like this or Kevin like this. So so if you have a regex like this and you test it against this, it will return false because this is Kevin and this is Kevin with capital letter, right? A future challenge will show how to match those other forms as well. Complete the regex Waldo regex to find Waldo in the string Waldo is hiding with a literal match. Okay, so I think here I just need to put Waldo like this. Alright. Match a literal string with different possibilities. Using registers like coding, you can look for the pattern coding in another string. This is powerful to search single string, but it's limited to only one pattern. You can search for multiple patterns using the alternation or operator. This operator matches pattern either before or after it. For example, if you wanted to match yes or no in the regex, you want in the regex you want is yes, and then you use this or no. So you're gonna match either yes or no. You can also search for more than just two patterns. You can do this by adding more patterns with more or operators, separating them like this: yes, no, maybe. Right? Complete the regex pet regex to match the pets dog, cat, bird, or fish. So you want here dog, cat, bird, or fish. Okay, let's see what's next. Ignore case while matching. Up until now you've looked at regexes to do literal matches of string, but sometimes you might want to also match case differences. Case, or sometimes letter case, is the difference between uppercase letter and lowercase letter. Examples of uppercase are this, and examples of lowercase are this. You can match both cases using what is called a flag. There are other flags, but here you will focus on the flag that ignores case, the I flag. You can use it by appending it to the regex. An example of using this flag is this. So here you have the regex and here you have the flag I, which means ignore case, which means if you have here ignore case, this will match anything that says ignore case without caring about uppercase or lowercase. So you will match this, you will match this, and everything that says ignore case, not caring about uppercase or lowercase. Write a regex FCC regex to match Freecodecamp no matter its cases. Your regex should not match any abbreviations or variations with spaces. So what you want to do is just say Freecodecamp and you put the flag here, right? Okay. Just gonna check if somebody said anything. Nobody said nothing. There's only one person watching, if they're actually watching or it's just my software showing something. Do say hello if you're watching. I feel a bit lonely. Okay, extract matches. So far you've only been checking if a pattern exists or not within a string. You can also extract the actual matches you find with the match method. To use the match method, apply the method on a string and pass it in the regex inside the parentheses. So the way you use test to test a regex against a string, you can use a match on a string to test a regex, right? So you have the string and then you say match this regex. So let's say you have a string regular expressions, and you have the regex just says expressions, so you just say our string match our regex, right? Note that the match syntax is the opposite of the test method you have been using thus far. So string match regex, and you have regex test string, right? So it's the opposite. Apply the match method to extract the word coding. So here we just say extract string match coding regex, and here you just want to change this to coding, right? Okay. Find more than the first match. So far you have only been able to extract or search a pattern once. Let test string equals repeat repeat repeat, and then you have the repeat regex, and when you say the match it only returns repeat, which means it only returns the first time it finds the pattern. To search or extract a pattern more than once, you can use the G flag, which G means global, so you want to look for all the places where it finds the pattern. So you have let repeat regex equals repeat, and the global flag text string match repeat regex returns repeat repeat repeat, right? Using the regex star regex, find and extract both twinkle words from the string twinkle star. Note, you can have multiple flags on your regex like search GI, so you have also global but also ignore case, right? So if you want to find both this one and this one, we have to change this to twinkle. We say global. Thank you for the like, appreciated. And then you say ignore case, so you want to look global because you want to find them both, and ignore case because those two are different. This one is uppercase. So then you say let result equals twinkle star, and then you want to use the method match, and you match star regex, right? Okay. Match anything with wildcard period. Sometimes you won't or don't need to know the exact characters in your patterns. Thinking of all words that match, say, a misspelling would take a long time. Luckily, you can save time using the wildcard character. So this is the dot. The dot basically means anything. It can be anything here, right? The wildcard character dot will match any one character. The wildcard is also called dot and period. You can use the wildcard character just like any other character in the regex. For example, if you wanted to match hug, who, hot, and ham, you can use the regex H, U, and then dot, which means it will match all of this because after HU it can be any character, right? Because this is the wildcard operator, right? So let hamstring equals I'll ham a song. Let hugstring equals beer hug. Let hue regex is HU and then dot, right? So if you say HU test hamstring, it will return true because you have this word, and also this one will return true because you have hug, which both of them would match this regex, right? Complete the regex and regex so that it matches the string run, sun, fun, pan, nan, and ban. So as you can see, all of these end in UN but have different letters. So what you want to say is UN, and at the beginning it has to be a dot, right? And then you say yon regex test example string, right? So this is the wildcard, and then you have UN, and this will match all of these, right? Okay. Match single characters with multiple possibilities. You learn how to match literal patterns like literal and wildcard character. Those are the extremes of regular expressions where one finds exact matches and the other matches everything. There are options that are balanced between the two extremes. You can search for a literal pattern with some flexibility with character classes. Character classes allow you to define a group of characters you wish to match by placing them inside square brackets, right? So for example, if you want to match bag, big, and bug, but not bog, so as you can see, all of these start with B, have one letter and then G, but uh, you only want to match these ones but not this one, then you can use a character class, right? So you can say you can create the regex starts with B, then it can have any of these letter A, I, or U, and then ends in G. Now as you can see, these will match all of these because this one has U, this one has I, and this one has A, but it will not match this one because this one is not in the character class. The AU is the character class that will only match the characters A, I, or U. So big string, you have big, backstring, bag, and so on. And as you can see, all of these match, but this one returns null. It will not match because it's not in this character class. O is not in the character class, right? Use a character class with the vowels E, O, U in your vowel regex to find all the vowels in the string code sample. Be sure to match both uppercase and lowercase vowels, right? So we want to say a character class with A, I, O, U, right? And we want to find all of them, so we use global, and we want uppercase and lowercase, so we use the flag I, right? You should find all what am I missing here? GI. Okay, here I'm not, I need to match, right? Match vowel. Oh, actually this is the test, right? This is the regex, so we want to test the string. Actually, I think we need to put it the other way around, so we will say code sample match vowel regex. Okay, what is going on here? Match vowel. Maybe they wanted the other way around. Vowel regex test quote sample. This should not be correct. What am I doing wrong? Code sample. So what is say? Use a character class with the vowels A, E, O in your regex vowel regex to find all the vowels in the string code sample. So you need to find them all. Be sure to match both uppercase and lowercase vowels. So if I am to say, and this is what it should be, code sample match vowel regex. This should work, so why doesn't it? Oh, I thought I put it this way the first time. I don't know what's going on. Okay, match letters of the alphabet. You saw how you can use character sets to specify a graph of characters to match, but that's a lot of typing when you need to match a large range of characters, for example, every letter in the alphabet. Fortunately, there is a built-in feature that makes this short and simple. Inside the character set, you can define a range of characters to match using a hyphen character. So like this. For example, to match lowercase letter A through E, you would use A to E, right? So you have A to E, so this character class can be any of the letters from A to E, and as you can see, it matches, the first one matches because C is between A to E, B is between A to E, but M is not between A to E, so that one does not match. Okay, match all the letters in the string code sample. Be sure to match both uppercase and lowercase letters. So I can just say, I guess, from A to Z, and I want to match globally G, I, and then I want to say code sample match alphabet regex Okay, so just to show, we basically said all the letters from A to Z globally and ignore case, and then we matched it, right? Okay, I think I will go for about 10 more minutes and we will finish for today. We have finished ES6 and we've gotten a bit into regular expression, which is nice, so we can continue sometimes at the middle of next week. Match numbers and letters of the alphabet. Using the hyphen to match a range of characters is not limited to letters. It also works to match a range of numbers. So for example, this one from 0 to 5 matches any number between 0 and 5, including the 0 and 5. Also, it's possible to combine a range of letters and numbers in a single character set. So you can say this character set is from A to Z and from 0 to 9, right? So matches all letters and numbers in Jenny string, right? Create a single regex that matches a range of letters between H and S and a range of numbers between 2 and 6. Remember to include the appropriate flags in the regex. So you want the G and I, and you want all the letters from H to S, and all the digits from 2 to 6. Okay, and we close this and we say quote sample match my regex. Okay, match single characters not specified. So far you have created a set of characters that you want to match, but you could also create a set of characters that you do not want to match. This type of character set are called negated character sets. To create a negated character set, you place a caret character like this after the opening bracket and before the characters you do not want to match. So for example, if you create a character class like this, you have put this here, so it means you want to match everything, or all the characters that are not a vowel, right? This is a bit and by saying all characters, I think it means all characters, not only letters. So you just want to match everything that is not a vowel, right? Note that characters like these ones and white space are matched. The negated vowel character set only excludes the vowel character, so it only excludes this, and everything else is matched. Create a single regex that matches all characters that are not a number or a vowel. Remember to include the appropriate flags in the regex. So first you want GI, and then you want to say everything that is not a number or a vowel. So in here you just put the caret operator. Where is the caret? This one. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is the one. And you want to say A, E, O, U, and then you want to say from 0 to 9. Right? This should be it. We just need to say code sample match my regex. Okay, match characters that occur one or more times. Sometimes you need to match a character or group of characters that appears one or more times in a row. This means it occurs at least once and may be repeated. You can use the plus character to check if that is the case. Remember, the character or pattern has to be present consecutively. That is, the character has to repeat one after the other. For example, A plus G would find one match in ABC and return A because of the plus. It will also find a single match in AABC and return AA because you're saying A plus, which means everything that is AAA or AAA, like any A's in a row will be taken as only one pattern. It will not take all the A's separately, right? If it were instead checking the string AB, it would find two matches and return AA because the A characters are not in a row. There is a B between them. Finally, since there is no A in the string BCD, it wouldn't find a match. You want to find matches when the letter S occurs one or more times in Mississippi. Write a regex that uses the plus sign. So what you want to say is S plus G. I don't think it says to be case sensitive. I think this should be fine. Let's do it. Alright. Match characters that occur 0 or more times. So the last challenge used the plus sign to look for characters that occurs 1 or more times. There's also an option that matches characters that occur 0 or more times. The character to do this is the asterisk or star. So you have this. Let soccer word is goal. Let G praise gut feeling. O praise over the moon. Let go regex equal go, and then you have the star. Soccer word match go regex returns go because go matches this one where you have O a 0 or more times. Then also gut feeling returns G because you have G and you have O 0 or more times, so it matches that one as well because it doesn't matter, O doesn't exist, it is 0 or more times, right? So it returns G. Now this one returns null because you don't have any pattern of G and anything else after it, right? So it returns null because it doesn't find anything. For this challenge, Chewy code has been initialized as arg behind the scenes. Create a regex, Chewy regex that uses the star characters to match an uppercase A character immediately followed by 0 or more lowercase a character in Chewy code. Your regex does not need flags or character classes, and it should not match any of the other codes. Okay, so we just want to say A and then A 0 or more times. This should work. Alright, I think this is it for today. We will stop here. I will stop here and hopefully you'll learn something along with me. I hope to do one more of these lives somewhere on Wednesday or Thursday. I will set one up. If you enjoyed this one, do leave a like or comment or anything, and do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you want YouTube to notify you when I put new lives up. Alright, this was it for today. Go enjoy your day, evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.